DilsonHealth.net reports that 45 million Americans attempted to lose weight in 2021. And of these 45 million Americans, 20% was all that were able to accomplish this goal. And half of those people who actually reached their weight did not maintain that long term. This means that 90% of Americans are failing in their weight loss goals. So there must be some confusion around this issue. And I've seen some of this confusion firsthand. About 2 years ago, I created a plan for a good friend of mine to lose some weight, and it worked quite effectively. He lost around 80 pounds in 16 months. But then he regained most of it back in about 5 months. And we'll get into why that might be later in this presentation. And we'll also get into some of the other factors that can negatively impact weight loss, such as using a fad diet or trying to lose the weight too rapidly. And after doing that, we'll be able to understand why a slow and moderate approach is the best path to take for your weight loss. So let's start by getting into the fad diets. One increasingly popular way to lose weight is to use these fad diet strategies. And for this, I'm going to use the keto diet as an example, or the ketogenic diet. The keto diet is basically just a model that provides you to use as few carbohydrates as possible and as much fat and protein. Now, this is what an article from Northwestern Medicine had to say about the ketogenic diet as a weight loss tactic. The ketogenic diet can be effective for weight loss when used in short time periods followed by the adoption of a healthier eating habit, says cardiologist Kamesari Mangati. Unfortunately, it lends itself to yo-yo dieting, which increases mortality. Now, there are two components to this that I really want to key in on. One is, notice how they label the keto as effective only for losing weight if it's followed by what they call a healthier eating habit. Now, this is basically the researchers telling you that they do not believe in the keto diet as a long-term solution. And that's due to the extreme restrictive nature of the keto diet. Now, another thing I want you to key in on to is keto, like most fad diets, lends itself to yo-yo dieting. Now, yo-yo dieting is a process where you lose weight really quickly and then put it on back really fast. I talked about it with my friend Chase in the first paragraph. And it's a super common problem, and this issue is not unique at all to just the keto diet. It's pretty much universally seen across these fad diets because they're so restrictive. So we see that using a fad diet is one mistake, but what other mistakes can we make? Another mistake I often see is people trying to lose weight too rapidly. This excerpt from the conclusion of a 57 study meta-analysis tells us weight loss, regardless of its severity, could improve anthropometric indicators, although body composition is more favorable following slow weight loss participants. Now, this tells us that after reviewing all these different data points, all these different people over so many time frames using all these different diets, they've decided the number one factor is slow. Is just the idea of slowing down the weight loss process. So if our best research is consistently telling us this, why aren't we doing it? Well, there are also many practical reasons that you can see this to be true. One of those reasons we've already talked about. The idea of over-restricting with fad diets applies heavily here too. When you're restricting caloric intake and doing all this extreme stuff in order to make the weight loss go very quickly, you're opening yourself up to falling into that same trap of yo-yo dieting or just giving up entirely because you can't adhere to the diet, which is what happens most of the time. Now, there's other issues also that come with trying to lose weight too rapidly, such as the development of eating disorders. It greatly increases the probability of that. And the development of pretty severe hormonal imbalances, which is not something you want. So now we've looked at what not to do, but how do we go about doing this the right way? A balanced and reasonable diet model will give you the best chance of reaching your weight loss goals. This statement from a comparative review of different weight loss strategies supports this claim. Significant weight loss was observed in any low carbohydrate or low fat diet. Weight loss differences between individual named diets were small. This supports the practice of recommending any diet that the patient will adhere to in order to lose weight. This means that in this study where they were reviewing the effectiveness of all these different diets, they figured out that the most important factor was someone's ability to be able to adhere to the diet, which is a really big finding. And a balanced and reasonable diet model can kind of help eliminate the stress and worry around adherence. But what does balanced and reasonable mean? When I say balanced, I mean including everything and excluding nothing. You see, your body works on what is an energy balance. So if you want to have something like some bad foods, well, maybe it's Thanksgiving, maybe you're going out with friends, it's all right. You just balance that out by being a little bit better the day before and the day after. And you take this balanced approach and you keep applying it, and you'll find that so much of the stress is gone and it becomes a lot easier. Now, when I talk about reasonable, there's two different aspects of reasonable. You have to be reasonable with yourself when you start to see slow progress, because it should be slow. We've discussed this before. The best way to do it is slow, but it's tough on the mind and your mentality when you're not seeing the results you want. But you must understand this and be reasonable with yourself. Another way you must be reasonable is you have to have some level of information on the topic that you're trying to attack. So if you know nothing at all about the key indicators of weight loss, like energy balance, macronutrients, or micronutrients, how can you reasonably expect yourself to be able to lose weight? You have done no research and you don't know anything. And it doesn't take much, just small amount of research, and all of this is publicly available and free to access. So attack it. I'm almost done with this presentation, but I have a few more words. This quote from Dr. Mike Vandershesky, who he's a doctor, but he also has an influencer personality online. He says, "Diet is the number one thing you should focus on. That being said, sleep, exercise, and your mental health all need to be taken into account." Now, I say this to explain this balance and reasonableness in this other context as well, because these are factors involved in weight loss. It's not all just food and all just bodily functions. Mental health, sleep, these are big things that need to be balanced and you need to be reasonable about. So in conclusion, if you can avoid the common mistakes like using fad diets and trying to lose weight too quickly, and employ a balanced and reasonable approach backed by a reasonable understanding of this issue, then you cannot be stopped. You will find that weight loss is actually pretty easy when you apply this approach. But I will leave you with one last warning. That first 2 weeks or 3 weeks, that first short time period, you're going to see the least results. You're going to be changing the most habits and behaviors, so it's going to be very hard on you. But you just must push through that. You must find the willpower and push through that, because after you do, you will be rewarded with an understanding and control over your body that will last a lifetime, and you will thank yourself for it. Thank you.